Social media, okay. We are live. OM, come for the debate hangs and the debates.
I wonder what the topic is going to be today.
Do you?
I do wonder, because I don't know. It's the whole shtick of our show.
Alright, and actually, I need to go to my Twitch so I can host this.
Sorry to disturb you from your light reading, Crofton. What are you looking at?
Sends one. We clinched playoff spot.
Oh, now you're going to be even in the worst mood. Oh, no, that makes you in a better mood, actually.
That's good news.
Funny how I don't follow it whatsoever, but heard that it was like it seemed like a shoe-in, and then people were like, what the hell's happening? It looks like they're maybe not going to get a playoff spot. What the fuck? And anyways, good for them.
It's just so... Last year, not one Canadian team made the playoffs. That's the big deal. And then this year, it's like most of them are making it. Like, there's 8, I think, and 7 will likely be making it.
Poor Gary Bettman, nothing's going his way. The Olympics thing is a pain in his side, and now with all these Canadian teams, he's gonna be like, God damn it! I wanted to be all USA, Florida Panther versus Vegas or whatever.
I don't think they're out of the Olympics yet. I think they're still...
I know that's what everyone's saying. I do find it kind of an interesting discussion.
You know what's kind of funny? This sort of like, if it was this next Winter Olympics is in South Korea.
Yeah.
But next Winter Olympics after that is in Beijing.
Yeah, and like they just had the summer one, man.
But it's because nobody wants to pay for the Olympics anymore, and Beijing's like, oh yeah, we do it.
Yeah, like we got money.
But the thing is, the NHL and this dirty Gary Bettman if it was in Beijing, there'd be no question the players would be going.
Yeah, I've heard that they're trying to expand the market or whatever.
Yeah. So like part of the issue is the negotiation with South Korea. And anyway, it's just like they don't give a shit about South Korea. It's what it comes down to.
Anyways, he totally sounds like a dickhead, and I'm glad that people like Ovechkin are just like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And then people are like, no, he won't go, and it's like, yeah, right. He probably doesn't care. He's like, what do you care? He's like, I am a rich Russian. I go back to Russia, become an oligarch. I don't fucking care about you. Do what I want.
What's funny is Ovechkin always says that he'll go, and then they all end up going. But what's always funny is that he always loses.
So far, but he's probably like, oh, if all those other
nobody goes. Yeah.
Russia destroys everyone. Like, I know Russia. I think that would actually be kind of satisfying for him, probably, where all the NHL people with tears in their eyes being like, my contract said I couldn't go, and he's just like, fuck your contract. I'm like, I enjoy his stance.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get going. All right.
Okay.
You ready for this? Good, bad, or bullshit. It's episode 188, folks. 12 away from the big 200. 200 episodes.
12 away, or 42 weeks.
Given our recent track record, indeed, that is the case.
We're on a roll.
But when you're good, you're good. What can I say? All right, good, bad, or bullshit. Episode 188 begins in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. My name is Bo Schwartz, and I'm here in the place where conversation is the foundation for higher thought. Joining me today is the, I think the beautifully haired Michael Hodgins. Mike, hello. Your
hello.
Hair's growing out,
Mike.
Looking good. You went through a short hair period for a while, but you're back. You're back, baby.
Yeah, inevitably it'll get short again one day, and then maybe longer.
And also here with us today, as he is most weeks, well, every week, also a long hair neophyte, Crofton Sears. Crofton, how are you doing today?
I'm the good, bad, or bullshit Iron Man, Bo. Here every episode.
Sweet. And
actually, I'm digging Crofton's coiffure right now. It's kind of like
it's a bit
of like 60s mop top kind of thing, which I think is a good look.
It's just funny because it's like I'm probably gonna get my hair cut this weekend.
I voted against that on your Twitter poll.
Oh, did you? You're losing.
Yeah, I
by
voted
one
against
vote.
it too. I was just gonna say that Crofton had
Well,
a
when
Twitter poll, and it looks like the long hairs won.
Well,
They
yeah,
had-
when I voted, it brought it back to 50-50. So I was like,
I was
I
an
hope I
early
stay on
voter.
there.
I
So
was
good
early.
listeners, come on out there and go and vote on
Well, the
Follow
poll's
Crofton on
closed.
Twitter.
Poll's closed, right? Poll's done.
Is it?
The internet has
Yeah,
spoken.
it was a 24. It's a 24-hour poll, so I'm
I also
supposed
like
to.
that it seemed to be for 1 week of validity. I'm like, what a stupid poll, because it was like, what's 1 week? I'm like, I'm not gonna vote every week to keep your hair long. God damn it.
I'm not sure that would be my poll for next week. I just recently discovered this poll function in Twitter, and I realized, hey man, I can have the internet make my life decisions for me.
That's
I don't have.
great
I,
idea.
I don't. I can democratize my like. Should I clip my toenails today? Yes. No. Oh, everybody says no. Looks like I got nasty feet this week.
You understand
yeah,
the internet's
it's like-
half trolls, though, right? So they're just gonna be like, how can we make Crofton's life
It's
more
like
fun?
Twitch plays, but for real life. So Twitch lives, basically.
Twitch plays Crofton.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I noticed that, and I think it's a good idea. I think you should grow your hair out, man. It's cool. I had
Join
a
the
week.
club,
I had a
buddy.
week, you guys, and we're just gonna mention it on the show here because there's gonna be another week of good, bad, or bullshit where we missed it, listeners, and you're gonna be like, "Where's my podcast at? Are you guys pod fading?" And I want folks not to worry. I went on a trip. You guys have been haranguing me on the show about my lack of travel. Well, guess what? I went to Irvine. In fact, there is a show intro where you guys make fun of me for wanting to go to space when I've never been to Irvine. You literally said those words, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I went
Was
to
it
Irvine."
Irvine?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I probably said Anaheim or Blizzard or some shit.
Yeah, so I was invited by Blizzard Entertainment, who makes Here the Storm. I do a show about it. I got to go out there, for 2 days. It was amazing. And I'm not going to go into big detail. Listen to Core if you want all the details. But I just wanted to point that out because it's literally on the show I was made fun of. And I did a thing that you said I never
Now
would
you're
do,
traveling.
and it's great. So that's why we missed a week. That is why we missed a week, folks. It was for a good cause.
You know what's funny is how like the level of motivation Bo had to get ready for that trip, because like he went from being a guy who didn't travel, so therefore never had a passport or anything like that. So there's a fair amount of legwork he had to do to get ready for the trip. He was like, I don't think I've seen Bo work harder on anything in his life than getting organized for this trip.
I also like. You might not be aware of this, Crofton, but I also screwed me and my wife screwed over Bo to get his passport because you need someone to sign for you. And I was like, I'll sign for you, Bo. But being a complete idiot, which I am, I did not realize my passport was expired until he showed up here. Mm-hmm. And then Andrea, my wife, was like, I think mine's still good. And we looked at it quickly. And obviously we're all idiots because hers was also expired. It was like on the
I got
line.
my passport application rejected, which
oh my god!
and so I had
That's
to I had to
horrible.
scramble. Keep in mind, every time I visited the passport office, I had to get up at 6 a.m. Something Bo does not do with aplomb ever. And so like there was several mornings I was getting up super early to go in the passport office because the line was out the door because it was March break. Anyways, it was like nuts. But I went there. Joke's on you, suckers. And so, yeah.
And you did it.
The other big
what?
thing that happened to me. Oh,
One thing I'll say, Bo, and congrats to you, is that you're literally living the dream. Because for me, like people have different levels of travel dreams. Like, Mike for a long time talked about wanting to go to Machu Picchu or whatever. You have these like levels, and then Bo's level is like go to Irvine to see Blizzard. Like that was probably like he had climb Mount Everest here, and then like go to Blizzard was like up here. So you've already completed all your travel goals. You might as well stop while you're ahead.
I want to go back. So I didn't get to go to the Blizzard HQ, so I still have to go back and like try and get a tour or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
so the great thing about traveling once is like my appetite for travel is now like fully wetted.
Yeah, because Crofton, you should know you haven't lived until you've seen the low density industrial zone around Irvine. You haven't lived. I asked Bo because he went there, and I was like, "Oh, did you see the ocean?" He's like, "No,
no, I didn't. We were in Laguna Beach,
and he didn't go close enough to see the Pacific Ocean." I'm like, "What the hell?"
We were in
travel
Laguna
was that?
Beach, but yet I saw no beach. So The other thing that happened to me, because I know it's a big thing, but this was really hilarious. It was traumatizing because I fell in the shower this week, and
What were you doing in there?
I was getting out. I finished cleaning.
Okay. Oh, you weren't dancing or something?
I'm not giving you a full accounting of that particular visit to the shower. However, I went to
Were
step.
you wearing clothes?
No. And so,
Oh,
I
okay.
was freshly bathed, and there was, some
Oh,
soap on the
mental
bottom of it, and I slipped and fell and landed on my rib. I don't know how it happened. First of all, I grabbed onto the towel rack to stop my fall. That was pretty funny. I almost ripped the whole wall out. And then I landed on my ribs. My chest is super sore right now. I don't think I broke anything because I know what that feels like. It's not that bad, but man, that thing hurts, and it made me realize, like, you could die in the shower. You got to be careful with your soap usage and make sure you don't slip and fall. It was scary as shit. So
Well, I mean, that's why they have those special showers, especially when you're getting up there in age. Like, if you watch any sort of all news channel especially during the day at any times, half the ads there are for these shower systems to avoid you busting your chops.
oh
When
my
you're an
god,
old
it's
person.
bad.
I also have this mental image of the two paramedics in Bo's bathroom with him wrapped in a shower curtain and them asking if he's all right. And then there's a knock at the door and he's like, "Oh, that's probably my Greek on wheels. Do you mind getting it for me?"
For listeners who
I like
who
this.
missed
This
last
could be a
episode-
sitcom.
After your shift.
This could be a sitcom. We could have, be every episode there's an ambulance called, and Sable and Jill show up to
Yeah.
the extremely attractive ambulance people to find all the embarrassing things something embarrassing
and help
I've
him
done,
get his takeout.
and I've ordered takeout. And I'm,
I just realized Bo's, really got himself into medical trouble twice in his many episodes. And ever since he's found out about these hot paramedics, he seems to be like much more accident prone.
It's gonna turn him into an hypochondriac because of these attractive paramedics.
Yeah, no,
okay,
it's
Mr. Schwartz, it's the third time this week. What do you want? Send an ambulance quickly. I stubbed my toe. Is Sable available to come look at my toe? If she is, you should send her. She knows my file.
I have Italian coming.
Anyways,
pizza.
sorry to make it all about me, but that was my week. It was pretty eventful and exciting, and that's why we didn't have a show. So blame it all on me.
It's funny that you say that though, because what I remember, we didn't have a show because you were applying for some job or something. But
Well,
I
but
guess
it's
you
just
tell a better story when it's travel.
Well, I have that to say, and also I haven't been able to catch up till last weekend. Like every night's just like, oh, I want to do this thing, I want to do this thing, and we did do core last week and all that, and I just was exhausted because I didn't sleep at all the whole time there. It was all nighters, and I'm at the age where all nighters kind of kicked me in the groin.
All nighters in Azeroth, baby.
Anyways,
right.
welcome back to Canada, Bo. You made it
thank
through
you.
Trump's America.
Although then
Unscathed.
almost died here.
Yeah, it's true. That bathroom, man, I'm scared of it. All right, you guys want to do a topic, or do you have anything you want to share before we start?
Oh, I could've-
Speaking of things we're scared of, how about that random topic generator, huh?
Oh, Crofton with the 6 segues, yo. All right, Mike, get it going. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready here. The topic today is competition.
Sweet.
It's kind of broad.
I'm gonna have the best verdict of the three of us on this.
I think maybe you'll think. I can see why you would think that, but my mark will.
It's funny
actually
because
end up being right.
I obviously know what he's saying when he said that, and then because this is how Croft and I are different. I was going to be like, look, there's room for everyone's verdict here, and that's almost where I stand on competition. Oh, here's a little story to get us started, and this is where I stand. Crofton and I play in an ultimate frisbee league, and for those of you who don't know what ultimate frisbee is, it's a loser white hippie sport.
Whoa! Just Google it. Don't take his editorializing.
Racist.
No, I
and-
mean that's the funny surface description. I mean we play it because it's a pretty fun sport, so we play in this league, and then occasionally, very rarely, there'll be a tie game, and I'm always like, a tie game, perfect. No one has to lose. We both played well, and everyone on both other teams is groaning, going like, "Oh, it had to be a tie. There's nothing worse than a tie. Whereas I'm always like, ties are great. No one loses, no one wins. We all played well because there's a very even game. I'm like, what's better than a tie? But everyone else finds it extremely unsatisfying. So
I don't know, man. Maybe that's you recently, but I definitely recall some of Michael Hodges wanting to win pretty bad, and then when it is a tie, or like especially when we've lost a lead and now it's a tie, you being like, oh shit, you know.
I think when it gets personal for Mike, if Mike doesn't like the people, he wants to beat them, which is a feeling I think.
Well, no, but what I will say to Crofton's point there, because it's like for sure that the me of my youth, even pretty recent youth, very competitive person. I used to be quite competitive, but I kind of, and maybe this is going to set me on a course here for this topic today, but I kind of, as I get older, realize like it's almost wholly negative, like competition.
Okay.
Feel so. I've been moving away from that and trying to, and it still creeps back in, especially when you're playing sports and stuff and you have this drive to win. But I realize it, even when you do, it usually doesn't make me feel good. It's because it's conflict, right? Like competition, it's conflict.
Let's get to the point of it. Competition, man-made thing. Like we're not going to do. There's competition in nature, but survival of the fittest. Like we're talking about the.
Hey, this is competition, Bo. Competition of the fittest, you know?
But evolution isn't really a competition, right?
Like you're already losing.
That's not how that works. So I think we just stay out of that pie. Because I think if we start going down it, evolution, it's not like, it's not two teams and whoever wins is the strongest. It's more about environmental pressure and stuff like that.
But it's not even like, it would be you could look at it, you don't even have to get into evolutionary terms and be like, it's a competition. Literally, it's a foot race half the time where there's like a gazelle and he's like, I'm running fast, and cheetah's like, no, I got this. Today I got this. I'm on point, and he's running, and it's like, who's running faster? It is like it can't get more competitive than that. And one day gazelle's like, did you see that turn I made and jumped over the bush? And then cheetah ate it. He's like, I'll win, baby, and lives one more day.
Yeah, but that
competition. They're all in on that competition.
That's the way we traditionally view it. But I think for evolution, isn't it more that there are several types of mutations, and the ones that are best suited are the ones that stick around, and that's why they're the way. Like it doesn't work that way. It actually isn't a competition.
Well, no, it does. It does work that way in the sense. It does work that way in the sense that if you have 10 gazelles, and 8 of them think to do the little sideways jump over the bush and it saves them, and the other 2 don't think to do that and get eaten by the cheetah, then that competition will benefit them.
It's not that. But the point is, it's not that the organism willed itself. It's that it was a mutation and it happens to survive, because extinction can happen. But it's more that it's played out in the competition, right? No, it's not, because hang on, and we're getting to the point here, is that competition is that there is a drive to succeed on all sides in the competition, and I think with evolution there is no drive to succeed. It's just the mutations that thrive in specific sets of circumstances. I would say it's exactly the. This is what it is. This is what evolution is. It's the mutations that thrive in particular environments are the ones that last.
But it's exactly what you said. It's all drive to succeed. It's all competition.
I think that's a very human way of looking at it,
with Bo
and not
on
a dispassionate.
Like I mean, the cheetah and the gazelle and all that. That's not competition. That's like just survival instincts. Like competition is like. You've got to know that you're sort of competing with someone to try to, like, for example, if there are 2 people and one of them is like, just living their life or whatever, getting a house, getting a car and all this and just having a good time. And meanwhile, their best friend is buying, trying to one up them and buy a nicer house and buy a nicer car, but they don't care about it. Then only one of them's in a competition. The other one is totally.
Crofton, I never knew you felt that way about our relationship.
Yeah, well, see, I told you.
Don't worry, you'll catch up one day.
We're not in a competition.
Just because I want to get back to the fun human stuff, because I think that's where, Mike, you want to make most of your points. Is that
wait. I'm happy to.
I wanted to say a thing. It's just that I think let's just stay out of evolution. There is it's not just humans that have competition, because it does come to mind that people do. There are societies of animals that compete for mates and compete for the class structure of, let's say, a pack of wild wolves or something like that,
or gorillas.
I think competition does exist in nature. I'm specifically targeting the evolution talk as just staying away from that.
But see, it's funny because like you keep trying to. you should almost stop when you were ahead because I was just about to say like yeah I'm fine to keep it to like competition like we all agree to compete in whatever. But when you were just saying that, I'm like, man, what are the roots of competition in our
Well,
society? And it's
yeah.
like when you talk about like these mating, rams smashing their heads together to impress
Hmm.
their potential mates. I'm like, well, is that is that really what it's the same thing?
Uh-oh, I think there's some survival.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you better go make sure your child doesn't die and go check on him. So Mike
All
has to
right.
go for a bit. Let
Can
me.
I talk?
I feel like I should give him one pause chance. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the recording.
Oh.
Yeah, because we don't want to exclude him from the conversation and have him feel left out.
But I can only get heard when he's not here.
I know, but it's not fair. It's not fair. So we're just gonna give it a quick pause while he goes checks on his son. But
That's fine.
yeah, yeah. I love how I immediately fell into a landmine.
Yeah, you totally did.
Mike,
You were telling
Mike
me to
has
shut up,
triggers.
then you told Mike to shut up, then you
Yeah,
told us both to shut
that's
up.
right. Well,
Uh,
no, it's not that. It's just like you guys would have happily just gone straight to ultimate and kept it in the human field, and then I talked about evolution.
all right.
Incidentally,
Oh
Mike is
yeah.
like a hobbyist anthropologist, so he's gonna
Yeah.
have
No,
he's gonna
no.
want to have
I'm.
the last word on whatever is being discussed. As
It's just funny because I know this is one of those topics where I know right off
Hmm.
that because Mike is like I cannot tell you how competitive he is. Ultimate, it's sometimes uncomfortable. Like I've had to separate him from other. Like he
Oh,
got
I've played
and
ultimate with
Reese
you guys. I know how
and
it is.
and and
Let's
recently too. Like
let's
he's
wait
trying to
for him
make
to
it
be
seem
here,
like
though.
it's
Let's not
in the
call.
recent past. No, no, I'm just giving you the
I know,
backdrop.
I know,
So
I know.
it's
I
just
know
I
you're
know
gonna try
where
and get
I
that
know.
out.
Hey, just shut up for a second. I know where his verdict is going. And that's why he does this thing. I'm not sure if you've
Uh
ever
huh.
seen where he tries to like to get to where he's got to do. He's got to exercise some elements. So or add in some elements. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised he doesn't want to get rid of the whole animal kingdom thing because honestly that kind of like makes it seem like competition there's no getting away from competition, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see, we'll
We'll see
see.
how it goes. Also, he heard everything you just said because remember, he doesn't listen to the show on headphones. The jig is up. He wins the competition. You're fucked. Oh, shit. And I lost Crofton somehow. So it's just me and you, audience listeners. One's checking on a baby, the other one is frozen in time on the best screenshot I think I've ever seen. I guess I gotta fix getting him back in. I kind of just want to leave it this way, though. This is sort of the perfect. This is like perfection right here. Yeah. All right. Let's give him a ring back. See what's going on with Mr. Crofton. Yeah, isn't it the best clown baby? Is a pretty good frozen screen. I mean, the show just went nuclear. That's part of the reason we're starting so late. Actually, is Crofton and Mike have their little guys and girls, and putting them to bed is real tough. So we had to get a late start today. And the weekends, we're just having a hard time finding time. If we miss Thursday, we're having a hard time getting it in on the weekends. It's my mom's birthday this weekend, for example. But and like last weekend, we might have done it on the weekend, but just didn't work out. Oh well. All right. So this is awkward. Let's see. Maybe we can load up a game of something while I wait. I can open my new Ungaro packs. Yeah, Crofton's rebooting his PC, so we're gonna have to wait for him there. Uh, it's kind of weird. Oh, and there goes Crofton out of that. So now you can't see me. So let me. Does this work? Am I here? Hello? Video capture device. Okay, that works. I don't know why that one doesn't. Add. Video capture device. Okay. Oh. What is going on? All right, let me turn that off. I don't know why I can't change scenes. It won't let me change scenes. Let me go to scene. Refresh. Is it seriously going to do me like that? Oh, it's because I'm using it in Skype. Okay. I know what I did wrong. All right. Let's add a scene. Derp-de-derp-de-der. Add window capture. Okay. And yes. Select subregion. I figured it out, folks. I'm going to be on the screen soon. Won't be a problem. Real soon. Hey, it worked. It's because I was trying to capture my webcam and not the appropriate thing. So I'm probably going to be super pixelated because I'm not sourcing it straight from my webcam. And I'm not going to turn Skype off right now because I'm still on the call technically with Mike. So we'll just keep it like that. Yeah. So hi, Clown Baby. Hi, Wicked Kitten. Welcome to the live stream that has gone off the rails. We will be back in fighting form soon. I think Crofton Steers is back on the call. He is back on the call. Hello, Crofton.
Man, dude, I've been having some major PC problems lately. Just like major, and it has to.
Gotta turn the. I don't know. I had a joke on the tip of my tongue, but it's not there.
I reformatted the whole PC and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's still like my Wi-Fi adapter keeps failing, and then because I'm connected via Wi-Fi, the entire computer pretty much crashes, and I got to reboot before I can get back online. So I have no idea what it is. I may have to start trying to find a way to hardwire again. But this is how my last computer died too. So I'm wondering if it's due to like power surges or what the hell. Like, why do these Wi-Fi adapters internally keep dying on these computers? So
I don't know, man. So for just to keep our viewers entertained, because Clown Baby's here, Wicked Kitten's here, I did boot up a Hearthstone thing.
what?
I'm not in the game yet, but there's nobody here. I'm entertaining people for like 10 minutes. Don't want me.
It's like you're a juggler or something. You're like, hey, everybody, hey, the show's still going on here.
I'm not sitting here in awkward silence. How are things, Mike?
You're not still carrying the thing? What's going on?
No, we waited for you because
Crofton.
I thought okay, by the way, Crofton, you're gonna need to watch the video for this because
I wanted to carry it, but then I had to reboot
Crofton was talking all kinds of shit about you, and then I pointed out that Mike doesn't use headphones, so you could probably hear what he was saying.
I wasn't talking shit. I was just explaining which way Hodge was going to go with his verdict. I
am exaggerating, okay, to make the story better. I'm embellishing. And turn your webcam on, by the way, Crofton. And then he went like this. So you went like this, Crofton. You went, oh, damn it. And then the screen froze when you making that face. And it was like the greatest thing ever.
That's when my computer crashed.
Yeah. Literally, it was a picture of you pulling your hair out for the longest period of time. So basically, the whole time you were gone, Crofton was also frozen, and I was all alone. So I decided to boot up Hearthstone. I was going to entertain our viewers with that. But you guys are back.
All right.
So I turned record off. So let me resume. So Crofton was about to interject. Crofton would like to say a thing if he still remembers what it was.
I don't remember what it was, but
okay, then I can pick it back up.
Okay, pick it back up.
All right. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, a bit of a technical difficulty, but we're back. And I was just saying we should keep this out of the evolution context, even though there is competition in nature. And Mike had some stuff to say about Actually, no, I wanted to pick at it further because where does it come from? Our need to be competitive, and is it in fact part of it? And then I think Crofton, I don't know if that reminds you of what you were about to say. If not, I know
Thank you.
Mike can speak, but I just wanted to defer to you first.
I just like, before we go down this rabbit hole too much, I just like to talk about what I think about when I'm thinking about competition and stuff, because Mike mentioned ultimate, and that's like, sports are one of those things where it's pretty black and white. Okay, one team is competing against another, one individual is competing against another. Competition is the name of the game, but there's like competition in pretty much every aspect imaginable of our lives. Like, Bo, during our technical difficulties, was entertaining the crowd by playing a video game, Hearthstone. It's a card game that is just like against another player. It's like, it's competition. Every single card game is competition. Like,
Except
every
solitaire.
part. Oh yeah. Well, then you could argue you're even competing with yourself, and that's a
Okay.
whole other
Sure.
discussion where
Versus
you're
AI. I
that
got it.
that level where you compete against yourself. But like stuff, anything, any board game like chess or checkers, you name it, competition. Then there's like competition in jobs and in life and all that sort of stuff. And they're not like, my feelings towards them towards competition in general varies a lot. And I think particularly about like, Donald Trump has gone on the record that saying that he does this, but he like essentially fosters chaos in his organization to get people to compete against each other for his love, essentially. And like, I mean, that's a management style. It's horrible, whatever. But it's bringing out the worst in people sometimes, and that's it. Like, because you can easily put competition up against collaboration as to opposing forces, and in which case collaboration just sounds nicer, it's more appealing, all that sort of stuff. But really, they can both exist, and they're not like, it's not one or the other and that sort of thing. So that's what's tricky for me a little bit, and thinking about this. But there's a lot of competition in my daily life.
No, no.
Yeah, there is for sure. I mean, and I'm glad you brought up the counterpoint, which is cooperation, because I think it's pretty obvious that that is the kind of counterpoint, cooperation or collaboration, or however you want to put it, working together, as opposed to against each other. But when you were going on about that, it made me think also about the whole kind of basis of our whole economic system, which is capitalism. And then you always hear Trump also says this a lot, going to bring in more competition, get those prices down. That competition in the economic sphere is what leads to some people say innovation or advancement, or cheaper products or better service or whatever it is that's all driven by competition. And I would question that probably a little bit, but I mean, there's something to be said for it. And it's certainly the system that we have largely.
And often collaboration in that sphere is considered bad. Like, if three companies work together to fix a price a certain way, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's true, but that's one way to look at it. Because the other angle that's coming out now, competition. Because if sticking on this economic front for just a second, it's like we talked about patents and things like that on this show before, and it's like intellectual property, and the whole idea being that someone, that's kind of like element of you have to be able to protect your achievement, because that's what you're competing against other people, and it's unfair if someone just comes and steals your hard work. That's that competition. Let them outcompete me on my own terms or whatever. But you're having a movement around where people are just now, open source is becoming a massive thing. And if you look at some like tech companies and some tech platforms that just operate on open source, and the amount of innovation and expansion that can happen when you open source something is like orders of magnitude better than when you just have people operating in different silos, competing against each other, not sharing with each other. It does not work as well. And I feel like we're going to see this take off even more. But there's a whole bunch of like, it's just like like basic computer code. A lot of it now is just open source, and it just means that it evolves so much faster because anyone can use it, anyone can. But even within then, it's like the good stuff moves ahead and the bad stuff gets left behind, and it's like, but allowing it. So I just even feel like even with that whole like competition drives like innovation, like I'm not sure that's true. And it's like I think we're starting to see that people are realizing that and to be like, if you just give people stuff and work with them and say, here, take this. Can you do? But then it also makes me think in my head that there's still an element of competition within that too,
No,
where people.
I think innovation drives innovation, not competition. I think being I think being analytical about results and making determinations about that, like we play trading card games, but the same mind state you would apply to having plus expected value on the performance of a particular deck in that competitive environment is the same as making decision making on the purchase of stocks and investments, regardless of their result. Consistently making a decision based on a strategy over the long term that yields positive results is a tenet of competition, especially when it comes to more mathematic based stuff and cerebral stuff and game theory stuff. We do build our society based, like, the very nature of democratic society is based on competition, because we all have this invisible number written on our foreheads called the number of dollars you have, and the number of dollars you have pretty much impacts your agency within the society. And getting that money is not just about being a good saver. It has nothing to do with being a good saver. Often it's making investments and building relationships. Like it's an interpersonal skill where there's this very weird intersection between cooperation and competition. But that being said, it's highly divisive. Like as you say, if people in their silos are competing, then we're not sharing and we're not innovating, because nothing you learned you thought of yourself. You learned it, which means it came from somewhere.
Yeah, it's true, and it's like a building thing. And to kind of get off the kind of economic thing, I don't want to get too hung up on that, because I think it's pretty complex stuff, and everything's kind of melded together. But back to the kind of like trying to think broadly, like competition, and it's like I tend to think like, you mentioned game theories, or we talk about games in general, and it's essentially, when I think of competition, I tend to think like you have winners and losers when you have a competition in general. Like if we even keep it simple to games, right? You have competition, someone wins the competition and someone else loses it. And I feel like to me, it feels pretty safe to say that like winning generally feels good and losing generally feels bad, or at least not as good as winning. And I feel like and I think there's this weird in our society, this weird kind of parallels where those two places play. Like obviously for things like in a lot of competitive sports, most people loses. Say like running, right? If you're running, one person wins the race. Like say a marathon, one person wins, everyone else loses. It's a lot of losing. It's a lot of losers. But so in the sport, I feel like there's you always hear with kids and stuff being like, you have to learn how to losing. It's character building, this kind of thing. But yet what's always kind of getting driven home is like how to win. It's still the ultimate. Like I feel like as we progress, people are trying to be like, there's a place for losing and we can't always be about winning, but really it is. They're just trying to deal with how the other end of it, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have a bunch of winners unless there's a bunch of losers.
What's interesting about that is it makes me realize that the pros, the benefits of winning are much greater than the risks of losing, the feelings that you get. Like losing kind of sucks, but winning feels so good that it makes it worth doing anyway, because everybody keeps participating in these competitions. And often like you mentioned losing, but like sometimes you lose and you still had a good time doing it. You would have had a better time if you won, though. And I definitely get that. And all these sort of like getting back to the collaboration element, it's like when we play Ultimate, what's interesting, it's the lines are quite clear. You have one team that's playing against the other, so you got in any sort of sport. And then let's take American football, for instance. You've got one team playing against another team, and then you've got one team on each team. They're collaborating, right? And in American football, you have an offensive line and defensive line and a defensive line. And often there's like sort of in-house friendly competitions between the offensive line and the defensive line of each team on their own teams. They want to be like, oh, okay, we're the defense guys. We're going out. We want to do it. We'll show those offense guys. You're on the same team, though. So you're all collaborating. You're competing amongst each other, and you're competing against the opposing team. And so there's so much of this. It gets so caught up in everything everything we do. We collaborate and we compete, and we do often both in equal measure. Some of my favorite like games are collaborating with a group, but like against another group. And often if I'm playing, like there's a lot of video games recently where I play against like bots or computer controlled opponents, and like Bo and I have been playing Overwatch. That's a good example. They very much make it easy to play against the AI. If you're playing against the AI, technically you're collaborating with the group, and then you're playing against this artificial intelligence, and you win. But for some reason, the win doesn't feel nearly as good. Like it just feels like hollow to the point that I'm like, I want to get into the real game, soon. And it's not because I maybe it's because I want to beat real humans, or maybe it's just because they offer a greater challenge. I don't know, but like there is something innately addictive about competition.
Well, what good is it? Because I think we're evaluating it, so it's like these games are fun, or the game of your choice is fun, or if you like running or whatever. But like, what purpose does it serve? Because I listened to an interesting bit about the Olympics. A part of recruiting for athletes there is you could have someone who loves running and trains year round to be a runner, but the Olympic Committee is not going to pick you. They're going to find freaks of nature and train them. And so really, when you think about the Olympics, it's just which countries have the better training programs for the freaks of nature that they find for the various disciplines. So that's like almost not a competition. It's just nature selected certain people to be predisposed to certain activities, and if we train them up, then they can compete to be the best. But it's actually kind of pointless. At no point in my life would I have ever been in a position to train as a runner. I just genetically would never compete at that level. And so, like, well, then what's the point? What are we even doing this for? It's weird.
But some people,
and that's all competition. All disciplines and games have the freaks that would be at the top. And so, if you're not number one, the point of competition, which is to win, then what's the point? Like, what are we trying to figure out through competition? How does it help us?
Well, you asked a bunch of questions there. I'd say it definitely helps us in that it pushes us. Like, for example, you give the example of the marathon runner who may not win the marathon, but, like, wants to beat his best time next time or her best time. And, like, so you're always pushing yourself, or you have, like, rivalries even. Like, you look at, what was it, Tesla and Edison, who were almost like competing innovators. Like, it can push you in multiple disciplines, and that's a reason to do it. It can be satisfying and enjoyable. I gave the example of like Overwatch for playing it, but like even you, Bo, you're in this game where you're going up this rank ladder, and there is literally one person at the very top of that ladder, and then there's millions of people in the ladder that are not number one, and like those people are still like on their, and they set their own personal goals, and you can there's room for that in the world of competition. I think where I get caught up is like I see a lot of benefits in competition, and I honestly like a lot of competition, but I wouldn't characterize myself as a competitive person. And I think when you use that term to define yourself, you're like, I'm a competitive person. It's kind of like I see it as a pejorative. I don't think most people do. If you define yourself that way, some people correlate it with driven, but a person that defines himself as competitive, I often see as like a negative attribute to define yourself. Where I enjoy competition in a limited amount, in a constructive way, and all that sort of thing. I wouldn't like make it my be all end all of who I am. On the other hand, though, I'm not at the forefront of any disciplines pushing things to the next level. So maybe there is a value in being that type of person.
Well, and it's funny because it's like this thing is turning out to be a very nuanced and complicated topic, as are many things. Because I'm thinking of like it's like, and like so many answers I would give to almost anything, be like, "What do you think about this?" I'd always be like, "Depends. It depends." And it's kind of like, what is that competition? And a lot of time when you were talking about this stuff, and I keep thinking about Donald Trump, obviously, because he's like, you know, he occupies a lot of public space.
He personifies competition and
But
capitalism.
yeah, I mean, he does, and it's like you think of some of his rhetoric. It's like winning. You're gonna get so tired of winning. We're gonna get America winning again, and it's like that is his kind of persona. Is like, and clearly, so when I think of him and I see the way he talks about it and clearly loves it, for sure for him, it's that like he calls it the art of the deal, but it's like getting one up. You hear examples of where him like getting these great deals, and that's all like victories to him, winning.
And he
And then
would describe himself for sure as a competitive person. Like he
Sure.
wouldn't shy away from that label, I'm sure.
Right, and it's like a lot of people are competitive, but for him, it's like when I think about the way that he displays competitiveness, it seems almost wholly negative, because it's a lot about dominance and power. And again, I mean, I don't want to bring it back to this evolution thing, but there is stuff built into us about that. Like with all this stuff, there is for sure a dominance play here, and it's like who's the most powerful. Like that, these are all essentially ways to figure out kind of like natural hierarchies, like who's the best, who's the more dominant, who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who's the smartest, and we develop games, we develop competitions of various sorts to kind of work that stuff out because it's important to us at some level. And I guess I feel like where my hang up with competition comes from is that I feel like at some point we sort of had to move beyond that, in the sense that like there are, and again, there's competition. You can have it in all sorts of different ways, but there are ways to move beyond it. I think in the sense that like, what are you working towards? Like coming back to what Bo was saying about like, what's the point of it? Like, what are you after? And if the end goal of so many things is just winning, is just to be like, I beat them. If that's the goal, then I'm kind of like, man, that's stupid. And again, when I was saying it depends, because it's also like, think about wars and conflicts of countries, and that's for sure winning, losing. That's like competition at its most raw form, and things like ultimate fighting, which we've talked about, and war, which we've talked about. These violence, like that's competition in this raw, terrible sense, and it still occupies a ton of space. And who wins and who loses? Like some people, you die, or you win or you die, is like, and I think that's been historically there's been a lot of space taken up by that the competition, like I'm powerful, I kill you and I win. And now we've softened it down, which is good. But I feel like the roots of that stuff is still there, and again, maybe that's just part of us, it's ingrained in us.
Win or die is also the tagline for many Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
No, but I have some stuff I got to put down on paper here. It's pretty important. There's Crofton went into the Overwatch. We're big game players here. Even Mike before the show, Mike and I were talking Hearthstone before the show. I think games are very important because they're opportunities to learn about your friends, your enemies, and yourself. Like they're windows into us, and making things into competitions does breed some innovation. I think if we lock 10 different of our smartest people in a room and say solve a drought in this country for the summer here with using $10,000 or something, or some limited resources.
Only one of you lives.
Well, I mean, one of you gets to even forget the money. Some people don't care about money. They just get the pride of doing the thing and being the best, getting the Nobel Prize. Who knows? But the point being that like there is a sense that you give people a same set of circumstances, and you would like to be the one rewarded because it has to do with the tribe. It has to do with being like having, you're a part of a tribe, you're a part of a community, and no matter what it is you're competing about, it matters to be in the top because of the tribe most of all. It's not for the money, it's not for the award, it's for the societal impact it has on you and in your social setting as a human animal, I think. And I think good things do come out of competition. Where competition gets wonky is I'll do anything to win. Is you lose sight of what the competition's for. It's to better yourself and it's to better others, in my opinion. And I think when we get to those like reality TV shows where they get on Big Brother, and I'm like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm just here to win Survivor. Like that's not competing. That's just being a dick. It's being an asshole. And I think people think of competition like that, because winning is the being Trump is the best, but really, it's the least important part of competition. Yet it's what's at the pinnacle. So
here's a question.
It's down on paper now.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
And this works in the sports space, it works in the video game space and all this. And I think that like it echoes to me in what I value in competition. It's a question. So if you are competing against someone, let's say in a video game or whatever, and you are destroying them, pizzoning them, like just reaming them, complete ponage. Does that, like, at a certain point, is that not less satisfying than just like slightly beating them in a hard fought match?
No, it's not, because I learn nothing. I get nothing out of it. There's some short term. You feel good if you're not thinking about it. You're like, yeah, I'm killing people. I'm super good. This is amazing. Everything's coming together. But that gets old very quickly. You need to feel like it matters. And it doesn't, when you walk into a game and you're the best at something, you just steamroll everybody. It doesn't matter, right? Like, what do you care?
Yeah, and it doesn't, like, often going back to the ultimate example, Mike and I have been in games where we have just, we've gotten trounced, but we have definitely, and it's not fun to get trounced, but it's almost worse when you're winning. Like we've been up like 10-1 on a team, and it's kind of like, and you recognize at one point that they're no threat, they're not going to push you. You can pretty much have your way with them, and so you've gotten your dominance. And like, but is that in the end what you wanted? No, what you wanted was a competitive, hard-fought match to better yourself and to better them. So that's what I find interesting about competition, because technically, somebody like Donald Trump, somebody who would define themselves by competition or competitive, do you think that if you asked him, Donald, okay, you just destroyed this guy, and you had an election against Hillary Clinton, you just destroy her pretty much across the board, you win in every state or whatever, are you happy with that, or are you saddened by it? He'd be like, that's amazing, I'm great, I love that. For him, he would not, in my mind, care about the blowouts. He would love the blowouts. Whereas for people like us, we don't like the blowouts. We want it to be close. We want there to be some element of competition. And I think that's the difference. For me, that's where like the difference between like egregious winning and just winning. And man, I wish Mike was here for this, because I'm sure he would be on board.
Yeah, well, we do got to keep this train moving. It's 11 now, so yeah. We've had another kid alert, folks. Audio podcast listeners, we've had to stop the show for putting the kid to sleep, and it's happening again. So, I would just agree with you though, Crofton. There is a culture of winnerism. Like, I know that there are people you could say right now, I'd be like, oh, I play Heroes of the Storm, and they're like, oh yeah, what rank are you? And I'm like, I'm this rank. It's not a good rank, and I'm like, I don't care about winning. They're like, what? Loser? Like, you're casual, like, or you're bad, or you're whatever. Like, there are types of people who would look at that and say, well, if you're not playing to win, why are you playing? And it's like, well, no, the enjoyment of the game has nothing to do with winning. And I think there is a culture around winning, and perhaps takes. I'm not a subject matter expert firsthand to say these kinds of things. I've never been number one in anything in my life, and many of us haven't. But some people would say striving for it is worthwhile, and you have to be a dick, and you have to be a certain way to attain these things. I don't believe that to be true, but I believe playing is the important part, not the destination.
I have been number one in something before.
Of course. What are you
many things, but the one thing that I will specify is I was pretty much the 1998 John Abbott Residence GoldenEye champion.
Oh my god!
And it was not even close. And here's the deal: around in the late 90s, like, the internet wasn't what it is now. Now it's always possible to find somebody that's better than you at any level of competition. You can go on, doesn't matter what it is, search your best marathon time, search whatever. You're going to find someone on the internet that crushes it. But back then, internet not as common, definitely online gaming not as common. So on Nintendo 64, it was pretty much who you know. And in Residence, I owned all, to the point that like it was quite known, and people played this game all over the place, and they would say, "Hey, have you played this guy?" And I would literally have people challenging other people on my behalf, saying like, "Oh, you're good, but have you played Crofton?" And it's funny because if I was on the internet playing GoldenEye, I guarantee I would sucked. I would have been like middle of the pack, bottom of the pack, or like, you know, I was really hot to trot in Residence, and I felt really good. But what it became is it became part of my identity almost. Like for that year, it was like that was part of the thing. It's like, oh, Crofton is it's the top at this thing, and so like it's almost like a curse to be the best at something, because I became more competitive as a person, especially in that domain, because I felt like I was losing part of myself if I lost in this. Like I had a reputation to uphold. Now you do this podcast on this topic, so you must feel like when you get in there, Bo, on that particular game, that like you've got to be competitive. If you were just some horrible player, then
well,
people
no, that's our shtick on that show. Actually, is a lot of the Heroes of the Storm content, that similar podcasts, things of that nature, they focus on esports, they focus on competitive, and we're very like, our message on the show is just to have fun. Like someone might say, here's the build you need to play to be competitive on the tank and on a tank character, and we're very open to suggesting, here's how you improve. Here are tips for how you can get better, but ultimately play the game the way you want to play. Like you don't have to win. Winning's not important.
But your tips about getting better are all based on you being good.
Well,
you know
what I
mean?
Like I said, it's the journey. Like especially in a game like that, because you play Overwatch, so maybe you understand. But let's say you're one player, you're solo. Let's just even put it to Ultimate, so Mike can relate. Let's say just Thursday nights, you by yourself, you show up and you're gonna get put on whatever team. Sometimes your teammates suck, and sometimes they're really good. And so sometimes when you lose a game, it can be because, you know, you don't have the team cohesion. It could be a lot of factors. So if you emotionally invest in winning in a situation like that, it's not healthy for you. So what you can do is focus on, you know, the things that you're practicing, which is improving your throws, improving your running in the case of Ultimate, or whatever the staples are. And really, improving as a player means you will perform better, but it's not focusing on winning. Like I think, and Mike had to step away for a bit, listeners, so we're going to catch him a bit back up. A lot of what we've been talking about is that competition is good, but winning is not important, and there's a culture around winning, whereas it's much more important to enjoy the play of the game, which is sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, but it's in the journey and not so much the destination, which to me it sounds like what you're saying, Crofton.
Well, yeah. The question I asked Bo, Mike, and I'd throw this at you too, is because I said that I enjoy competition, and I gave the example of like, how do you feel about blowouts in anything that you do? Like if you are extremely dominant in a field and you compete, you're like, I think of an Ultimate game where we're up 10-1. I start to feel bad for the other team. I'm not even enjoying. I'd almost rather be down 10-1. Like at that point, like I want to win, but I don't necessarily want to blow them out. And my point to Bo as well was that somebody like Donald Trump may want to blow someone out because they define themselves in that way. But I don't. I enjoy competition, but not to the extent that I want to like destroy someone, because I'm not gaining anything. I'm not learning anything and all that. And Bo was explaining some of the nuances to that, but that was my.
Well, it is funny though, because even in that situation of like winning still feels better. I mean, you might feel like, you know, we've had those games with Ultimate Frisbee where it's like, yeah, you're up 10-0 or something like that, and it's just like you feel like you're crushing them, but it still feels better than being destroyed by a team, I find, because some you can get this feeling where it's like nothing's going my way.
Right.
How you feel, and I mean, I was going to take that over into like, so I do play this game Hearthstone, which is pretty popular, and sometimes I get on a streak where it's like, and there's an element of chance in these games and whatever, and you get on the streak where you've won like, you know, 8 games in a row or something, you're like, hey, I'm good. And other times where it's like, you just can't win, and it always feels better to be winning than losing. And oftentimes, usually on the losing end, sometimes I feel like being like, oh, why am I doing this? Because it feels like you're just abusing yourself if you always are losing. And with games where there's chance involved, you're gonna win eventually. But games of like skill, and it comes back to,
but yeah, just like the blowout thing, I just wanted to focus on, because what I was really trying to differentiate is not between a win and a loss. It was between a blowout win and a marginal win where it's been a competitive match, but you pulled out the win.
It's more satisfying when it's like, yeah, close and you've won. And then you feel like you're competing against a peer, so it feels fair. I think it's that element of fairness that comes into play where it's like, it's not fair to compete against someone who you outmatch or is not on your level. And you know, but it's funny because it makes me think of another point, because it's like there are some people that are never going to be good at winning anything, and there's a lot of people like like that. And but it's also funny. It's true because Crofton, you pointed out that you've been very good at some video games, and Bo as well, and it's funny how you'll tend to focus on the things that you're good at winning. And I just wonder how much people end up then focusing their energies on the things. And maybe that's a good thing to be like, those are the things that their strengths are there. And so then they put their energies in it. So that maybe that's good. But maybe it also draws them away from other pursuits that they could benefit from. And I just think of people who just aren't good at anything, you know, like someone has to, there are lots of people who are like 10th best at anything they try. And it's like, how should that person feel in their life?
Out of 100?
Like, well, no, maybe out of 20, who knows? I don't know how it works, but like, and it's funny because I often think of myself as someone who's like, I don't think there's not one thing that I do that I'm the best at for sure. And I would say that I happen to be a person who I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I'm definitely not the best. And so, and I think as I get older, I realize that that you can then end up doing things for different reasons. When I was younger and you know, I felt like I could be good at certain things, especially in sporty type of stuff. I felt like, oh, maybe I can push myself and be good at this or that. Then you realize you start getting broader to be like, no, you're not driven to that extent. You're never really going to be the best, and that really to do it for other reasons is ultimately more satisfying than to do it for competitive reasons. For most anything, I feel like I learn that more and more as I get older. And when we come back to games, the joke with us, we play kind of like, you know, board games every so often, is that I really enjoy the full-on cooperative games where there's just like some situation presented by a game and everyone, Crofton's rolling his eyes because I know Crofton gets only satisfaction. He says he's the competitive, but he is competitive. He doesn't like to describe himself that way. But his satisfaction comes from me win, you lose.
Well,
and if you don't lose, I'm not as satisfied because whereas I feel the older I get, the more I'm like, we all win, no one loses. It's like the best case scenario, and I really feel like that's something I would love.
As long as I win more than you, that's all.
Just hang on. You
can win as well. Wait, I just need to win the most.
Wait. Let me interject here because I believe we played Dungeons and Dragons, which is a co-op game, and I know Crofton enjoyed that. Okay, but he was a real dick to some of his fellow players on many occasions. But this is my point: is that Crofton likes to troll and F with other people, including make alliances with them, break them, then attempt to make another alliance with that same player because he likes to watch the world burn, which he does to me all the time. Makes an alliance, he betrays me, and then he immediately tries to make a new alliance with me. Always.
Sounds like Donald Trump.
He always intentionally tries to it's a Crofton in 3 acts in a board game. And the problem with this, Mike, is that trolling in a competitive game has to be, I'm going to win and do things to win. And like that's it. But co-op games, the problem with Pandemic, which is the co-op game that Crofton dislikes, is there's no way to troll. The world is about to jeopardy. We can't F around. We have to save it. And so I'm speaking for you, Crofton, but trolling is
remember that time in Dungeons and Dragons I poisoned Mike's rations and blamed it on the NPC? Sorry.
We knew it was you.
Yeah, I
But
remember
it's
that.
funny, and that whole what you're touching on right now is, to me, again, part of why I dislike competition. And then because and this could be just our current culture of competition, where it's not so much to win, and you have for sure gracious winners, but I feel like we live in an era where there are just as many trolls and taunters who are like, I won and you suck, to the person they just beat. And it's not satisfying to them unless it's that. It can't just be like, like, yeah, I came out on top, but it could have been anyone's game. Like a lot of professional athletes comport themselves in that manner, especially professional athletes because they've made a career out of it. But like most, like there's a lot, because even when I play again like this game like Hearthstone, like I feel like the percentage of people who and it has limited ability to troll other players. You can tell people trying so hard to troll you, and the worst part is, as I see it progress, you realize also how fickle and stupid people are. Because like I never troll in these things, but people usually wait until it's clear that they're gonna win, and then they try to troll you. And it's like, and it's just like, and I feel like that's a truth about things. Like people taunt and are cocky when they're assured of victory, and when they're not, then they're less so. And I'm just like, again, it brings out so much negativity in people, this competition, especially in the current culture I think we have of it, where there's so much of that, and there's always lots of good people around to be like, hey, let's all have fun and blah blah blah. And I always felt like Bo has been a great enabler of that with gaming and competition probably in general. And there are those people there, but he's not the Crofton style. It's more dominant, where it's like, I win, you suck. Maybe if you played better, you would have won, kind of thing.
I don't say that.
Well, yeah. Crofton plays that way, but I think in his heart of hearts, he's one of us.
It's definitely role playing, in those board games and stuff like that, and video games offer me an escape because I'm not a competitive person in real life, like in the way that. No, I'll give you an example. So you're cherry picking elements, but like stuff like stuff like at work, or the way when we go skiing, and I always bring this back up. Like it used to be like all the macho guys would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna ski on this, and I'm gonna do this," and like there's an element of innate competition where it's like everybody's like, "Oh, how far can you go without taking a break? Oh, need another break or whatever," and all this sort of thing. And it's like, for me, when I was a kid and through teenage and young adult, it was like an element of like, and yes, it's machismo, but it's all rooted in competition and stuff. And I'm never like, while I may have bought into it, it's never been a part of sort of me. And I definitely recognize it. I do it more for the lulz in a board, in like sort of a board game or a fun or a relaxed setting and that sort of thing. And so like, I guarantee if you asked anybody at work or whatever, people who've worked with me, nobody would define me as a competitive person, like somebody that's rushing to get ahead and get to the next level or do this or to get the bonus or the whatever, So in frisbee or whatever sport I do play, very rarely am I pointed to. I can get competitive just as good as anybody can, but I am not the competitive guy. I am not like the one that would be define themselves as competitive. And that's where, rolling into verdicts soon, I have these two tropes where I see and enjoy competition, but then competitiveness as an attribute of a person or a society is not necessarily, I don't value in the same way.
I'm with you there. I think, yeah. I mean, do we want to just roll into verdicts? We are.
Yeah, we could. I got a bit more I was going to say, but I could just use it in my verdict, though. I still don't know really where I'm going to land. I find this kind of.
I do.
I mean, it's a big topic. I feel like there's so much more to say, but we are already an hour in.
Yeah.
And let's cut to our verdicts, and we can always put an ear in this and revisit it. It's not off the table, right?
No odd jobs.
All right, Mike, you're up first. Let's hear what you got on the subject.
I'm up first. Okay.
I can go first if you're like, I have my verdict loaded.
I'm not
ready.
sure actually what I'm going to say, but I think I know. But
well,
okay,
you said you wanted to say a lot, so take your time with it and get out some of the other thoughts you have.
All right. Okay.
That's why I suggested you first. Otherwise, one of us can go first.
It doesn't really matter. Okay, I'll go ahead. So what I was going to say, and again, keeping it, this stuff gets really complicated, but this whole sport analogy thing I think is useful in the sense that it's easy to understand competition in that context and breaks it down. And then so I'm going to tell you guys a tale of three sports, that I do.
Okay.
And I'm not necessarily good at it. Well,
tell the
so
tale,
basically,
sir.
I'll take the three sports. Ultimate Frisbee, which we talked about, and I played with Crofton. We play on a team, which has this element of team play, which is great, and I really enjoy that, and camaraderie of your own team, and when you achieve victory together, it is satisfying. The other sport that I do is I like downhill skiing. Crofton mentioned that before, and I think it's probably of the sports I do, I'm probably personally the best at it from the sports that I do. And then the other one I do, and I do a lot these days, and I really enjoy, is rock climbing. And I'd say I'm probably a mediocre rock climber. I'm not terrible. I'm not great, but I like it. So coming back to those three things, and I feel like, how do I feel when I play them, or when I do them? And it's interesting because two of them are in theory not necessarily competitive. So the Ultimate Frisbee, I often feel frustrated, even when we win, because there's often other elements of conflict with players that happens. It happens to be a self-officiated sport, so you end up, and it drives home to me the point of conflict in this. And so more often than not, I leave the field feeling kind of frustrated. Oftentimes, even if we win, I got in an argument or someone was being, kind of fouling you, and you feel like it's stressor. That's how I feel. So skiing, coming to the next one, which is a sport that I feel like I have been competitive about, because I felt like I was pretty good at it at some point in my life, and I thought maybe I should try to pursue this, and I was on and off. And as I get older, I kind of realized, like, a lot of people, there's a lot of better skiers than me. And that when I come back to that competitive angle of it, I find it's, again, kind of unsatisfying. Like, when I just forget about it and I go out, because you're just skiing by yourself. It's an individual sport. You just go out and ski. You don't have to compete. But because I have been competitive or felt competitive in it, now it feels unsatisfying because, again, there's so many people who are better than me. And I'm getting, why am I even framing it that way, right? When I don't frame it that way, I feel better. When I do, and I'm keeping up with some, because I know a lot of good skiers, and you're going with them and trying to keep up, and sometimes you're like, this is starting to become not fun again. And then the other sport is rock climbing, which I've been into a little bit as an older person. And it's a sport you do on your own. And I've realized that with it, the way it seems to work, it's like you go and climb something, and if you can make it competitive. Like I said, I'm mediocre at it, so I don't bother. I climb, and it's like the people you climb with basically just make sure you don't die and offer you encouragement. So I almost always feel good after it, because that's how it feels to me. Like, I'm half decent at it. So it feels satisfying, and I feel like I can make slight improvements. And the people that I do it with are mostly like, come on, you can do this or whatever. And if you don't, you're like, hey, try, it's a problem for you. Try it again next time. And that's fun. And it's just personal, and I do it because it feels good. So looking at those three things, the one that's the least competitive for me, again, which is the rock climbing, is the one I almost always feel the best after having done. And the one that's most competitive, Ultimate Frisbee, I almost always feel the worst after having done, with the occasional moments of elation, which is the great win. And it feels good. I get that. But that other conflict, it just grates on me. And I mean, that's the person I am. So for me, thinking about those things, and I know this is long and drawn out, so sorry about that, but I'm just going to come and say, going with my gut and how I feel about this stuff, that I think competition is bad. So you can go ahead and play the thing. And I know that it makes people excel, it makes people push themselves, it drives innovations, but I think that there's different ways to do it, and I really do think it's probably rooted in something deep and primitive and primal even, and that though it plays a role and always and will be for the next foreseeable future, I feel like at some point humanity is going to kind of move beyond this kind of dominance play. So I really think the negativity that comes out of it, the beating people, it's more worse than it is good for me. So that's personally where I stand.
Can I just ask one clarification, so maybe you can add on? Is sure. For rock climbing, you're competing against yourself, are you not? Like it's like jogging. It's like you. Yeah. If you're not just going to climb, you're like trying to get places and push yourself past previously. It's not. There's no. It's just not like like a run or something that's kind of like you're competing against yourself.
Yeah, like you go and that's the thing is that you go and be like, okay, this route I can climb. You climb it because it's fun, And then another one, you'd be like, oh, that one I'm not sure I can climb. You try it, maybe you get up, it feels good, maybe you don't, and think, but I enjoyed it, so I'll try it again. I don't know. Yeah, it's like you could pick a route, and some are beyond your level, but maybe are still a challenge and fun. And some are easy and are satisfying because it feels fun to climb them. And so I climb all of those things. I climb things that are very easy for me, and I climb things I cannot do, but I still try them because it's at the limit of what I can do. I don't know, and it's like, am I competing with myself? I guess sure, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels more like it's a fun activity. I enjoy doing it. I do it because it feels good, and ultimately that's what it comes back to for me. It feels good, and the people I do it with, I feel like I almost have better kind of bonding than I do when it's the more competitive stuff. There's more animosity, and I mean within your own team less so. But even sometimes when we play these team sports, sometimes if your team's going badly, like we have this one player on our team, I don't want to name names, who yells at everyone on the team all the time.
It's Mike.
It's not me, but there are, and it's like, and it gets frustrating because that person wants to win and is putting that desire to win on other players, and that adds stress within your own team. You're just like, you're like, come on, especially like we're playing recreational, like, so I don't know. Again, I stick with the bad. I really just think, and again, war, man, come on.
Yeah. So I can segue right into that because you mentioned a lot about the things that make you feel good, which I think whether we're talking physical sports or games, or even things tied more into real life, like we didn't delve too deep in the economics, but there are other RL games, so to speak, that can provide you with dopamine hits, serotonin. Like your reward centers are issued a reward based on how difficult the thing it was that you faced. So stopping people doesn't provide the dopamine hits that winning a tightly fought game does. And so like that's a reason to keep doing it. I agree with you completely that it feels bad when people don't have the true spirit of competition, which is always the lame loser thing to say for people that are trying to be the cool kids in school, which is you loser, you winner. Winners are winners. But those are the people that don't get where the good in competition is. And unfortunately, everyone can compete, so they don't have to learn those lessons. They can in fact be dicks and be rewarded and be the best still. Like your attitude and disposition and understanding of competition doesn't have to be a certain way in order to be good in competitions. But I think the reason we play games and do these things is for that reward. And I think we do innovate and we do accomplish great things, like whether they're personal goals or they're goals for all mankind, such as climbing the hardest rock in the universe. I think that's reason enough to do it. It's how we're programmed, So it's fundamentally a part of us to compete and to move in our cultural and societal structures that way. My own physical, like my RL sport of choice before gaming took a large part of my life, was skateboarding, which is it's an equivalent of figure skating, basically. And it's like figure skating is one of the most competitive sports, but like, why is it competitive? It's subjective. Some people watch you and judge the difficulty of what you did and how well you executed it and give you a number. Like, it's dumb. It's kind of dumb competing in that way. And as a skateboarder, like, it would go out, and if I did a kickflip off a set of stairs, I might feel bad about it because I'm like, yeah, I did it, but I know it didn't look good. I felt off balance and I hit it wrong. But if I did it really well, caught the board high in the air, landed square without falling over a bit as I landed, I would feel very good about that and get the dopamine hit and get a sense of like, hey, I progressed as a performer in this sport. So the point being that I think there's something important to competition, and I think there are a lot of people who misunderstand, who conflate winning with competition. Winning is the least important part of competition, and yet, to simple minds, why would you compete if not to win? It is the object of competing, right? But that's why simpletons are simpletons, and I'm sorry to be mean about it, but they just don't get it. But they become president of your country. So, that's the truth of it, is you don't have to understand the nuance of competition to be good at competing. You can be a freak of nature or born into wealth and know enough to go up and not down. Like, that man is crazy, but yet he won an election. And, make no mistake, being leader of a democratic country is a competition, and it's a blood sport. Anyways, let's get to a verdict. I'm going to say that competition is good, but I think people who are focused on winning or confound winning with good competition are very lost and just don't get it. So I would say winning is probably bad, but competition is good. That's my verdict.
Wow. It's always a journey. I'm
Mike's
just
was like
listening.
5 times the length of mine.
Oh no,
I'm
I
going to
know.
take shit.
It's just like it feels like when we do our verdicts, it's
Yeah.
like writing a paper, doing like
It's
a
true.
university
It's
paper
true.
or something,
Yeah.
where you do the thesis statement at the beginning and then you sort of talk about it. Except in this case, we're kind of putting the thesis at the end, and that we're revealing like what our verdict is at the end. But it is funny because sometimes going along your journey, I'm like, where's he gonna land here? You know, I'm like,
I have
failed
structure problems. It's true.
um, but this is a nuanced topic for sure, and I did find it super interesting that we all spoke to what we know, and we gave a lot of personal anecdotes, things we were good at, things we're not, things that appealed, things that don't, and it really made me think. Like, I tried to think outside the box because competition is one of those ubiquitous things. You guys talked about the economy, but like stuff like there's these I don't know, like SATs in the States or grading systems where it's like the top 20% of the class make it through or to legal school or to whatever, and they all go to the board and are like, oh, did I make it? You know, they're all competing with themselves to get a good grade, but also with everybody else to be the top 20%. And like, that's something that doesn't, touch us, but there's so many competitions that are ongoing all the time. And what I struggled with in this podcast was my enjoyment of competition versus my disdain or dislike of people that define themselves as competitive in general. I find they're the people in life that I have the most conflict with. We're about to do at my work what's known as a DISC analysis, which sort of shows what type of a person you are. And I am quite interested because one of the sections is clearly driven, competitive, and all that sort of thing. And like, while I can work with those people, I don't to value the competition and winning above and beyond all else is not something that I appreciate or aspire to, and I think is a bad thing. But I do enjoy competition in limited quantities and in relevant spaces. Like, if every board game that I played with my friends was a collaborative game, or if every card game I played, or if every sport I played was collaborative, or I wasn't at least competing against myself, I would find that sort of stuff pretty dull in short order. And I do see the benefits of competition. Like Mike mentioned, war is the greatest of all evils and stuff, and in many ways that's true. But like, on the other side of things, you have like stuff like the Cold War, where you've got like the space race between the Soviets and the Americans, where they pushed technology forward astronomically because they were both racing to the sky. So there are benefits associated with competition as well. Maybe a very complicated topic. My like of it and dislike of it all melds into one and comes out with a verdict, and that verdict is competition is bullshit.
Oh. I'm
The
slow.
full
I'm slow.
spread.
There it is. Sorry. Oh man, I failed. I failed you.
Yeah. Bo, you lost this competition.
I like how no one won it though with a full spread. I like that.
No, I won it.
Oh, okay.
Oh
so-
yeah. He started the show by saying he was going to have the best verdict,
yeah.
and
yeah,
according
well,
to
it was,
him,
clearly.
according to
He did.
Crofton Weekly, the critics over at Crofton Weekly, he was a resounding success and performed #1.
Reliable sources. I got people all over saying how good my verdicts are.
It was tremendous.
Well, if you wanna tell Crofton how good, bad, or bullshit his verdict was, write to us. goodbadbull@gmail.com. We want to hear your opinions. I know it's kind of a pain in the ass most of the time when you want to write into a show. You just want to say, hey, I like your show and I have a question, and keep it simple. And this is the kind of show where we like to dig in deep with our opinions. But we would love to hear from you. We had a guy give us his paper on circumcision back when we did the episode on circumcision, and all 3 of us read the paper, man. So send us your shit. Send it in. goodbadbull@gmail.com. I want to see some good stuff here if you've got an opinion on it. Apart from that, if you want to find out more about the show, goodbadbull.com. There you can find us on links to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Well, don't go to Stitcher. Go to Google Play, or we have an RSS reader where you can do that. I think Stitcher kind of blows. They downgrade the quality of our stuff. So I think we're still on there.
Competition.
Yep, they lost the podcast competition. Finally, we would like to thank our supporters of this show over on patreon.com. We're not winning any Patreon competitions, but we don't care about that kind of stuff. All the people who donate to us help keep the server costs low and things of that nature. We greatly appreciate, and we'll continue to bring you this fine program, whether you choose to donate or not. But if you want to give back, consider doing that for us. All right. I think that covers all the stuff for the show. Goodbadbull.com. Just go there. All the links are there. Let me, give out the information where we can find some of our co-hosts. All right. So, Crofton, if our listeners want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
They can find me putting up a new Twitter poll on Twitter, trying to determine if I should shave next week or grow out a sweet beard. Also, which verdict is the best. All three options will be mine. At Crofton Steers on Twitter.
All right, Mike, for listeners who want to find out where you are, follow you, or do you have any other words of wisdom for them?
No words of wisdom. And nor will you find any on my Twitter feed at ML Hodgins.
Okay. And you can find me at Bo Schwartz and everything I'm up to on Twitter. All right, cool. That's I think I did a terrible job of providing all those links to the thing. That was bad.
You
I
can't
lost
win
that
them all,
competition. No, that's true. But you got to enjoy the journey. So it was quite a journey.
We should look into seeing if we can find like a quick come up with like a little script to close the show that we all use. It'll because we definitely do spend a lot of time. It's not just Bo, it's all of us. We're like, all right, then there's this, and you can follow us on that. And
whatever. It's always like it's the closing. Most people have already clicked delete.
Unsubscribe. They're
unsubscribe.
This is a great episode. This is a rambling ending. Unsubscribe.
Yeah, no, that's every show. I mean, if you're listening to our show, we kind of go all over the place. We take our time. We get into side arguments that are irrelevant and waste 20 minutes of time talking about whether evolution should be part of the competition topic instead of just talking.
Yeah, if you don't like that, go listen to NPR or some structured podcast.
Yeah, you want to fight about it? Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, really though, we have the best podcast. I mean, we don't need a competition or the podcast awards to tell us who the best podcast in town is.
On listeners, we don't have the most. On 5-star reviews, we might not have the most either. But my gut says that we're the best, and I think. And I think that's all we need.
I think we have the most 5-star reviews per listener, though. So per capita, we're like number one, I'm pretty sure.
Of all podcasts?
Because we have one listener, and that one listener gave us a 5-star. That's pretty sweet.
Well, I know 100%. We have more than one listener because we have Wicked Kitten and Clown Baby in the chat room today. And they're
sweet.
Big
Thanks
fans.
for listening.
Hey, guys.
Yeah. But, we have it's bigger than that, but it is a small and dedicated following. And it includes my mother. She's a big fan of the show. Hi, Mom.
Not my mom.
Also a supporter on Patreon.
Oh, Michael, I only want to watch things you're good at.
I like, my mom will sometimes be like, because my brother does all these ski competitions, she'll be like, "Oh, Nick, I streamed your ski competition the other day. You did really, really well." And I was like, "Oh, sweet, Mom, you know how to stream? Have you watched my podcast?" And then there'll be like a pause. She'll be like, "No, Nick, you placed very well."
Well, you don't do something cool like
Mom.
skiing that she can get behind. You do like nerdy debate shit. It's not cool.
Whatever.
Sorry, you picked the
Thanks,
uncool
Mom.
thing.
At least I have Bo's mom.
Whoa. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, it's nice. I almost thought it was an inappropriate joke, but it was not. You do have my mom. If you need a mom, my mom will be there for you.
She's way more supportive of me than my mom. Thanks, Bo's mom.
Thanks, my mom.
All right, we must be done now.
Yeah,
fellas.
there'll be. I'll close it out on a Crofton saying something.
Sorry about all my
moms.
toddler interventions.
No,
there.
I think that was cute. I mean, it was a fun. Not fun for
Did you hear
but
him?
fun for the show. No.
Yeah, well, at the beginning.
I don't think
He
I
came out
picked up
again, and
much.
he just like stands at the top of the chair. So he's like, "Oh, Dada, where are you going, Dada?" And I'm like, "Oh God!" And I gotta run up and put him back in his bed. He was just like yelling random stuff.
So is Andrea in there with him?
No, she came home and went to sleep, and she sleeps like a log. So I'm like, she's not gonna get up.
So how much?
Gonna be a ruined podcast instead.
No, it's pretty good
No, no.
actually. I think we'll be okay. It's fine. We
There's
didn't.
another thing I'm not the best at: parenting.
You didn't miss that much, but parenting's a journey. No one wins parenting.
No, that's probably true. No one wins it. Wait, did you say you're not competitive?
Well, I gotta go, guys. I'm
All right,
also
wait,
the best at
hold
sleeping.
up. Let me end the stream first. All right, thank you, dudes and dudettes for watching the live stream. Really appreciate the views.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
We'll catch you on the next one. Okay.
Thanks
Hopefully
for
next
thanks
week,
for bearing
instead.
with us.
Yeah.